Hello and welcome to Who Wore It Better, where I review Raw and SmackDown back to back and try and figure out which show won for the week. It is the first Who Wore It Better of 2019. If you missed my video on Tuesday explaining some new lineup changes that I'm having implemented at the beginning of this year, I recommend you go check that one out because there are some changes, especially when it comes to Thursday videos from here on out, that I think you want to know about. Before I talk about Raw and SmackDown, though, I do want to talk about the news that's been dominating the headlines ever since the clock struck midnight on Tuesday. The fact that Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks have introduced All Elite Wrestling, AEW. It's something that's been speculated and talked about and rumored for weeks and weeks and weeks, and now we finally have it made official as of Tuesday morning. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot more details coming out next Tuesday when they have their press conference to discuss the follow-up to All In, Double or Nothing. But also what we know now, there's a few things we know that there's going to be they're looking for a TV deal. They don't have one yet, but the success of All In helped kind of like sweeten the deal and make AEW a reality, which is really encouraging to hear. The fact that Tony Khan, who is the co-owner of the NFL's Jacksonville Jaguars, is the president of AEW, and that Cody and the Bucks are going to be the executive vice presidents. The fact that they are trying to sign people to long-term contracts. There's a lot of really interesting potential with this new organization, which, like I said, has been rumored about for weeks, and people have been speculating what's going to happen. And so one thing I think is very interesting is that I feel that with AEW right now, on paper, we kind of have that mythical thing that fans have been talking about and wanting ever since WCW folded. It's like it's a wrestling company being bankrolled by someone who's stupid rich in the Khan family. They are very wealthy. And so then it's very much like Ted Turner. Money's not going to be an issue, seemingly. You've got people who are involved in the show, directly involved in the company, who have wrestling knowledge and background and know how to, how the business operates. And then you've got all this potential, all this fan interest. Aside from the issue of finances, the one big difference I see between All Elite Wrestling and, say, the early days of TNA, which is probably the biggest comparable upstart promotion that you can compare this to right now, is that while in the beginning of TNA, we had the Jarrett family running things, and they had their idea of what wrestling was and in the past and what it was at the time, I feel that Cody and the Young Bucks, they know what wrestling is now, but they also have their finger on the pulse of what's coming up and what's hot for the future. I think that youthful exuberance, I think, is going to be the key difference, which makes, I think, All Elite Wrestling, I think they have a better chance to succeed and get off on the right foot than, say, TNA did when they were just kind of like glomming off all these former WWF guys. But bottom line, this is very exciting news for wrestling fans, if you're a fan of the Elite especially. If you are in the business, I think having more outlets and potential to find work and get noticed can only lead to the betterment of the wrestling business. I do think there is a legitimate concern of the possibility of oversaturating the market, because not only does WWE have their huge market share, but then you've got Ring of Honor, New Japan, Impact, MLW, Lucha Underground, all these different things that are already out there, not to mention every other top tier indie that's getting so much exposure. With AEW getting inserted into the mix, I do have concerns about, how much can the market sustain? How much can it hold before fans eventually just kind of like get exhausted of all the wrestling out there? Will the bubble eventually burst? Time will tell. But like I said, very exciting times for the world of wrestling right now. I'm very happy for Cody and the Young Bucks, and I wish them all the success in the world. And again, we will wait with bated breath to see what happens with AEW in the very near future. And so with that out of the way, let's talk about Raw and SmackDown. The New Year's Eve Raw begins with a steel cage match as Dolph Ziggler takes on Drew McIntyre. Very good match here. Great way to start the show. Both guys just laid into each other the whole time. Very physical. Drew wins with a pair of claymores, and then after the match, Dolph gets up, says, "Is that all you got?" He eggs him on. Drew gets back in the ring with a chair. He kicks the chair to Dolph's head. The crowd chants one more time, but we do not get to see it one more time. Drew says he's the king of the Raw jungle, which is, okay, I've heard worse. He says he'll win the Rumble and he'll become the Universal Champion. He beats up Dolph some more when he gets up after the promo is over. So Drew looks very strong, emphatically strong here in this opening matchup. So will 2019 be Drew's year? We'll see, but I like where this is going. Seth Rollins makes his way to the ring. He says he wants his rematch with Dean Ambrose for the Intercontinental Championship, and that brings out Triple H. He comes out to remind us that there are no more automatic rematches for championships in this new era. We'll see how long that rule sticks. Then Triple H does this whole spiel where he tries to motivate Seth Rollins. Says, where's the guy that I had on my side in the Authority? Where's the guy who kicked my ass at WrestleMania? He wants that guy back. And so, and then Rollins gets offended by Triple H asking this question. It's like, well, Brock Lesnar's been gone with the championship. I've been tearing down the house with this guy and this guy and this guy, and Mojo Rawley of all people. Like, damn, what did Mojo Rawley do? Who did he piss off to keep getting name dropped like in the most negative way possible? Yeah, I think it was really good stuff between Seth and Triple H. I think it acknowledged their past, and it serves as a motivation for a shift in tone for Seth in the near future. Triple H put Seth in a match with Bobby Lashley later in the night. Out comes Shane McMahon to break the tension and announce a fresh start battle royal, which is happening right now. That battle royal will determine who faces Dean Ambrose for the IC title later in the night. The participants are as follows. I'm going to look at my notes right now. Finn Balor, Apollo Crews, Lucha House Party, Zack Ryder, who, hey, he finally got a match on Raw in 2018. Better late than never. Kurt Hawkins, Titus O'Neil, The Ascension, The B-Team, Tyler Breeze, No Way Jose, Baron Corbin, and Mojo Rawley of all people. Baron Corbin eliminates Balor late in the match, so let's keep that money feud going. Hawkins gets a moment to shine, but he's taken out by Corbin as well. Apollo Crews then eliminates Baron Corbin last to win the match, and Crews looked great in this thing. He eliminated 8 people in all, so he looked fantastic here, and now he's going to be facing Dean for the championship later in the night. Backstage, Natalya is being interviewed. She says she's going to be in the Women's Royal Rumble match. Nia Jax interrupts, and she and Tamina beat up on Natalya. And so we find out later we're going to get that tag team match, Nia and Tamina versus Natalya and Ronda Rousey, the match we were deprived of a few weeks ago, as I think we were. I know they built up the match for a few days, and I forget if they ever had it or not. I feel like they didn't have it, so now we're finally going to get that match. Baron Corbin's still in the ring after the Battle Royal. He laments the fact that he didn't win. He says, I should get a fresh start. I deserve one more than anyone else on Raw. Elias interrupts. He name drops Kid Rock in his promo, which gets a lukewarm reaction at best in Detroit. I think you would have better odds name dropping Gene Simmons than you would have Kid Rock. Then Elias sings a song about Baron. A fight breaks out. Renee Young says Elias is trying to tune the life guitar of Baron Corbin, which of all the weird things I've heard her say on commentary, that's certainly one of them. Elias ends up winning the fight. 6-woman tag match as Ember Moon, Bayley, and Sasha Banks take on the Riot Squad. Is there anything less intimidating in wrestling right now than Ember Moon's scream during her entrance? I say no. Be that as it may, still a very entertaining matchup. The match ends when Ember does a huge dive to the outside onto Ruby and Liv Morgan. Bayley and Sasha work together to take out Sarah Logan, make her tap out, so the faces win, and boy, that Riot Squad is just disrupting everything, losing all the time. Seth Rollins takes on Bobby Lashley up next. It's a fairly good match. Rollins fights off both Leo and Lashley. He ends up hitting Lashley with a chair to end in a disqualification because he's snapped at this point. Rollins beats up Leo and Lashley, and Leo's sell, the stomp, is just amazing. Great stuff by Leo there. The finish was a bit disappointing, but it did fit into the story of Seth, having to reawaken his nasty side. He looked particularly vicious at the end there. 3-on-2 match as Jinder Mahal and the Singh brothers in wrestling gear for the first time in a long time take on Rhino and Heath Slater. Short but sweet match. Rhino looks good in his hometown Detroit, but ultimately Jinder wins after he and the Singhs, the numbers game, catches up, you might say. Jinder and the Singhs win. Cool to see the Singhs in a proper match, like not something like thrown together like they're still in their street clothes or whatever, like we've seen before. So yeah, I hope to see I've always wanted to see the 3 of them working together in that kind of official match capacity, and so hopefully we can see that more in the future. Dean Ambrose defends the IC title against Apollo Crews, who won that Battle Royal early in the night. Crews looks great in this match. He keeps the momentum going from the Battle Royal. He really puts Dean on the ropes for a while. Crews misses the frog splash. Dean hits Dirty Deeds to win and retain the championship. Pretty good match. I do hope they keep this going with Apollo. I hope this is the start of something good for him. We've always seen these kind of like false starts with Apollo ever since he debuted for the company. And I think that, maybe this is the start of something really tangible. Alexa Bliss announces she's hosting a new talk show segment beginning next week on Raw. I love the fact that she mentions that she's no longer running the women's division. If I were her, I would have just kept that a secret, because I already forgot about the fact that they gave her the gimmick of being the one in charge of the women's division before they totally kiboshed everything about the Baron Corbin era of Raw. Would have been better off to not even mention it. Main event time as Nia Jax and Tamina take on Ronda Rousey and Natalya. Personally, I didn't care for this match. It wasn't a bad match. I was just kind of bored and tired. I think that this match would have been better suited in the semi-main and put Dean and Apollo in the main event spot. This one just kind of ended on a flat note for me. Ronda wins after she gets out of the Superfly Splash and puts Tamina in the armbar. So faces win. Hooray. Happy 2018, everybody. Let's get into the new year already. So yeah, kind of ended on a flat note for me. SmackDown opens up with the New Day ringing in the new year. They talk about how they're going to be in the Royal Rumble match once again. Big E tries to do some Steiner math, which is hilarious. They introduce the first match of the show, which is Samoa Joe versus Jeff Hardy. It is a rematch from last week, which ended inconclusively. I forget if it was a countout or a DQ. Who cares, really? Because they were fighting on the outside. And this match, by the way, will determine who the final entrant will be in tonight's Fatal Five-Way to see who will face Daniel Bryan for the championship at the Royal Rumble. You know, I make fun of it, but hey, I feel like they've really kind of like laid off on the Fatal Five-Ways lately, so it doesn't feel so bad and repetitive to see that match come up here tonight. Anyway, it's a good match between these two. Joe wins after putting the coquina clutch on Jeff on the outside. He waits for Jeff to get back in the ring, puts it right back on him. Jeff passes out. The referee calls the match. So Joe wins emphatically here. He gets the 5th spot in the 5-way later in the night. And so it was a very good match with a conclusive ending this time. Backstage, Vince and Shane McMahon are having a sit. They look very casual. They're very comfy there in their big chairs in the office there. AJ Styles walks in, says he's not going to apologize for hitting Mr. McMahon last week, and he says he might bring out the real AJ Styles in that match tonight, and Vince looks like a proud papa. Rusev and Lana make their way to the ring to celebrate the big U.S. Championship win from last week against Shinsuke. We get some very obvious crowd sweetening here in this segment when Rusev's cutting his promo. The crowd is just so canned and fake, some of the sound effects you get from them. We get a cool like Rusev Day USA chant. I kind of like the sound of that. But Shinsuke runs in and knocks out Rusev. Lana jumps onto Shinsuke's back. Rusev kicks Shinsuke, who falls on top of Lana, and Lana just dies. So that was the whole thing. Oh my God, Lana's hurt. I'm like, wait a minute. Lana's a wrestler, right? Like, she has wrestled in matches. She's gotten beat up worse than that. She was in the Money in the Bank match, I'm pretty sure. So, like, what is she doing taking, like, a bump and just like, dead? Shinsuke doesn't weigh that much. I don't think him landing on Lana is going to hurt that bad in the grand scheme of things compared to other bumps she's taken. So, that just seemed kind of weird to me. Like, oh, she's not in her wrestling gear, so she loses a lot of her dexterity. From damsels in distress to jealous lady types, we've got a match that's supposed to be Naomi versus Mandy Rose. As a follow-up to last week when Mandy was hitting on Jey Uso and Jay's wife Naomi intervened, but it's a bait and switch. It turns out it's going to be Sonya Deville taking on Naomi while Mandy Rose is on the outside wearing an Usos shirt. In the middle of the match, Mandy gets on the microphone and says, oh, I sent Jay this sexy picture of me in a towel. They put it on screen and that distracts Naomi, and then Sonya hits her finisher on Naomi, which just looks like she's giving herself a DDT. I don't know what about that makes it look like the opponent takes the move there. Anyway, Sonya wins, and so Mandy and Sonya look strong here. You know, I find that these like female storylines that just are where the crux of it is like the relationship to the men in their lives, I find that to be very tired. But like I've said before, if they do certain angles right, then I think it can be redeemed. And by doing it right, I mean have the home wrecker lose. And I will say though, some people have been complaining online that, you know, the angle is not realistic to see Naomi so like vulnerable and insecure. It's like that doesn't make sense because, oh, on Total Divas, you know, Naomi and Jey Uso are like the tightest couple of all time. But you know, that doesn't mean Naomi can't get pissed at another woman making moves on her man. Also, it's acting. John Cena and his dad hair returns to SmackDown. You can barely hear the John Cena sucks chants during his entrance. Then again, the fact that this is a pre-taped show, might be some crowd sweetening involved, you know, just speculating there. Cena calls out somebody to justify him being there. Out comes Becky Lynch. So we get this kind of like verbal confrontation between the two. Becky says that if Cena gets in her way, then Nikki Bella won't be the only one who drops you this year. You know, and I gave Ronda Rousey crap for invoking Nikki Bella's relationship with Cena in their feud going into Evolution. So I'm not going to make an exception here because, oh my God, Becky Lynch is so cool. You know, it's like there's better things to get heat on Cena for than, you know, who he dated. There's just like there was better stuff to get heat on Nikki than who she dated. Anyway, out come Andrade Cien Almas and Zelina Vega. Vega talks some trash. Cena issues a challenge for a tag team match right then and there. and it is on. In the match, Zelina gets a lot of offense in on Cena when the referee's not looking, and who would have ever imagined that ever happening during Cena's career, where he gets beat up by like this lady wrestler frequently in a match. Cena gets his several moves of doom in on Almas. Becky, who's the legal woman, actually dumps Cena out of the ring for some reason, puts the disarm her on Zelina to win the match for her team. Cena goes to shake Becky's hand at the end, and she just kind of fabs him, just as the "you can't see me." She walks off, and Cena's go, "Oh shucks." Very true to character of Becky to do that. But what a hell of a moment. What a great endorsement for Becky Lynch to get, the biggest star in the company for the last decade and a half to, get his like C-Nation stamp of approval onto Becky Lynch this way. And it was a very entertaining matchup. And yeah, I think it was really cool to see like these two huge stars in their own right working together. First, they were kind of adversaries and they became a team. And so, yeah, I think it was very good. Backstage, The Miz presents Shane McMahon with a little presentation of like his ideas for matching outfits, matching jackets, matching trunks, and like he superimposes Shane's face onto Goldberg's body for some reason. Like, see, this was entertaining. This is like the first time in this entire whole arc between the two of them I actually said, yes, I enjoy this little bit here. Backstage, we get a confrontation between Asuka, Charlotte, Becky Lynch, and Carmella over who's the first woman who's going to challenge Asuka for the championship. And then Triple H, who's there, says, we'll take it under advisement. He walks off, and that's kind of how it ends. But man, dig that just totally natural blocking of Charlotte walking into the shot. She walks right up to Triple H and just has her back to him, and she's facing him like this. Like, come on, like, who's blocking this shit? Main event time, it's the Fatal 5-Way. You got Mustafa Ali, Rey Mysterio, Randy Orton, Samoa Joe, and AJ Styles. What a great match this was. So much cool, awesome moments in here. A lot of great athleticism and excitement. A lot of crazy near falls too. At one point, AJ's put through the announce table as well. Mustafa goes to the 054 and he just totally face plants. So the match ends when AJ hits the springboard 450 onto Orton to win the match, and he'll go on to face Daniel Bryan at the Rumble. It keeps the feud going a little bit longer, but now it's the added little wrinkle of like the real AJ Styles versus the new Daniel Bryan. Ooh, all of these superlatives. Time now for me to decide which show won for the week, Raw or SmackDown. And this one, I'm going to go with SmackDown, but I'm not saying that Raw was a bad show, because I don't think it was. I think it was a very strong show wrestling-wise. I really enjoyed Dolph and Drew. Seth and Lashley was a good match. The 6-woman tag was very exciting, and Dean versus Cruz was great. The only problem I had with the show was just I kind of walked away from it going, like, there was some interesting stuff. There was good world building. There was good seed planting in that show. But I think there was just a lot more bang for your buck on SmackDown. You had Joe versus Jeff was a great match. The stuff with Cena and Becky Lynch versus Andrade Almas and Zelina Vega was exciting. The Fatal 5-Way was a great main event. A much stronger way to end that show than I feel that Raw ended with the women's tag team match. The one negative I had with SmackDown was just the issue of like, oh, Lana's made of glass all of a sudden. She takes a bump and she's dead. That was kind of off-putting for me. I think both shows were great. I think SmackDown just had that edge of having a little more stuff going on and kind of like, oh, okay, kind of keeping things going. Very entertaining in that way. But we have interesting stuff across both shows. And the stuff with like Seth Rollins now is getting good. You've got Drew McIntyre looking great. Apollo Crews is getting some love. You've got Cena endorsing Becky on SmackDown. You've got Almas and Vega and Mustafa Ali, among others, all getting really interesting looks on SmackDown. Just good wrestling overall across both shows and a lot of seeds being planted. I think both shows are doing well right now to kick off 2019. I think that Raw is on an upswing. I still would give SmackDown the point this week, is all I'm saying. Let me know what you guys thought about Raw and SmackDown in the comment section below, as well as All Elite Wrestling. Let me know what you think is going to happen with those guys in the near future. And be sure to vote which show you thought was better in the gimmick in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. Be sure to thumbs up this video if you like it, subscribe to Wrestling with Regret, buy the t-shirts at ProWrestlingTees.com, and check out Patreon.com/WrestlingWithRegret for exclusive perks and bonus content. I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.